Chuck Norris couldn't or wouldn't do. The 86-year-old, long deemed invincible, has died suddenly, leaving his legion of fans in shock.
9 days before he died, an 86-year-old man posted a video of himself throwing punches in the Hawaiian sun and wrote the words, "I don't age. I level up." 9 days later, he was gone. The man the world spent years declaring dead in hoaxes had actually, quietly, passed away on a Tuesday. And what he left behind made his family weep in a way no one expected. The phone call nobody saw coming. On March 19, 2026, Chuck Norris was rushed to a hospital on the island of Kauai, Hawaii. He had been vacationing there at the oceanfront home he owned on the North Shore, the property he and his wife Gina had fallen in love with years earlier. Hours after that emergency hospitalization, he was gone. He was 86 years old. For a man the internet had declared dead at least a dozen times, the real announcement felt strange to process. In 2023, YouTube channels posted viral videos claiming he had died in a car accident. During COVID in 2020, false posts across Facebook declared he had passed. Each time, he was very much alive. So when the actual family statement went out on March, his family issued a short statement asking for privacy. They did not disclose the cause of death. The words they chose were careful and measured, but one line stood out. They wrote, "Thank you for loving him. Thank you for watching his movies. Thank you for remembering Walker. Thank you for loving him." That choice tells you something about what kind of man he was beneath all the roundhouse kicks and the legend. Within hours, Donald Trump posted a tribute calling Chuck a great guy and a really good tough cookie. CBS, the network that once fought him in court over tens of millions of dollars, issued a glowing statement. Hollywood mourned in one voice, even though Chuck had spent years pushing back against it from the outside. Now, the question every financial publication scrambled to answer was this: what did he actually leave behind? The answer is approximately $70 million. That figure was confirmed by Celebrity Net Worth, cited by Fortune magazine, and referenced in Newsweek's coverage of his death. But that number alone tells you almost nothing interesting. The far more compelling story is how he built it, who he is leaving it to, and how a large piece of that fortune almost never existed at all because of a legal battle he quietly fought and won against one of the most powerful television networks in history. His estate includes a lone wolf ranch in Navasota, Texas, approximately 1,000 acres in Grimes County. It includes a vacation home on Kauai worth an estimated $7 million, the very property where he died. It includes Seaforce Bottling Company, a water business built on the ranch after an accidental discovery beneath the ground that nobody saw coming. It includes royalties from over 30 years of films, a fitness infomercial deal that ran for nearly 3 decades, book income, endorsement fees, and the syndication of a television show that aired in more than 100 countries. No will has been made public. Under Texas community property law, Gina O'Kelly, as his surviving spouse, inherits half the marital estate by default. The rest flows to his children. He had 5 of them, from 2 marriages and 1 relationship he kept completely secret for almost 30 years. What we know is that Gina already holds a controlling 51% stake in Seaforce as its CEO, meaning the business stays in her hands regardless of how the rest of the estate is divided. The ranch has been the family's full-time home since Chuck stepped away from Hollywood around 2012. Their twin children, Dakota and Daniele, now 24 years old, grew up on that land. One member of his family who will not be there to receive anything is his first wife, Diane Holchek. She died in December 2025, just 3 months before Chuck, after a long battle with dementia. They had been divorced since 1989, but their 2 sons, Mike and Eric, were with her until the end. In the final chapter of his life, Chuck Norris lost both his mother and his first wife within months of each other, then followed them before spring arrived. That detail does not make it into most headlines, but it matters deeply to understanding who this man was at the very end. And there is one more secret buried in that family story that almost nobody outside of his inner circle knew about for nearly 3 decades. The boy who was nothing. Before there were $70 million, before there was Walker, Before there was a single roundhouse kick on screen, there was a boy in Ryan, Oklahoma, who was so shy he described himself as neurotic. Carlos Ray Norris was born on March 10, 1940, and he nearly did not survive being born. He arrived as what doctors called a blue baby, meaning he entered the world with dangerously low oxygen. His mother, Wilma, was a devout Christian who raised 3 sons essentially alone while working menial jobs. His father, Ray, was a World War II veteran who returned home broken and turned to alcohol, disappearing for months at a time. Chuck wrote that when his father was absent, the house actually felt calmer. When he was home, everyone walked on eggshells. The family moved from Oklahoma to Kansas to California, chasing work that never paid enough. Chuck graduated from North Torrance High School in 1958, a slightly built, non-athletic teenager who had, by his own description, never succeeded at anything truly difficult. Nobody who knew him then would have predicted any of what came next. He enlisted in the Air Force that same year, the same year he married his high school sweetheart, Diane Holchek. She was 17. He was 18. The Air Force sent him to South Korea, and that is where the overlooked kid from Oklahoma discovered the thing that rewrote every page of his life. He stumbled into a Tang Soo Do class at Osan Air Base and was completely transfixed. He trained 4 hours a day, 5 nights a week, under a Korean master named Shin Jae-chul. In 13 months, he earned his black belt. He later wrote, "For the first time in my life, I had accomplished something difficult on my own." That sentence is everything. Martial arts did not just give Chuck Norris a skill. It gave him the belief that he was capable of hard things. And once a person internalizes that belief, they spend the rest of their life finding hard things to attempt. When he was discharged in 1962, he tried to become a police officer and was put on a waiting list. While he waited, he taught karate in his parents' backyard. Within a few years, he had built a chain of over 30 karate studios across Southern California, with celebrity students including Steve McQueen, Priscilla Presley, and Bob Barker. He became a 6-time professional karate champion and won the Karate Triple Crown in 1969. And then one night at Madison Square Garden, he met Bruce Lee. This was the turning point of his life, the friendship that started everything. Bruce Lee spotted Chuck Norris at a 1967 karate tournament in New York City and tracked him down afterward. They trained together in Lee's Los Angeles backyard for 2 years, constantly debating fighting philosophies, and both of them improved because of it. Then Lee called in a favor. He was directing a film in Rome called Way of the Dragon and needed someone to play the villain in the climactic fight sequence at the Roman Colosseum. The Italian government had denied permission to film there. Lee filmed anyway, over 5 days illegally. When Chuck asked who wins the fight, Lee replied, "I don't want to beat the world champion. I want to kill the world champion." The film was made for $130,000 and eventually grossed an estimated $130 million worldwide. Chuck Norris became globally famous for being defeated on screen by a man he called the greatest martial artist who ever lived. After Lee died in 1973, his widow moved to a house half a block from the Norris home. Chuck spent evenings with the family, telling young Brandon Lee stories about his father. It was student and friend Steve McQueen who finally pushed Chuck toward acting. McQueen told him directly, "You have the presence, now learn the craft." Chuck enrolled in acting classes at MGM. His first film paid $10,000. When no studio would distribute his second film, Good Guys Wear Black, he and his producers rented the theaters themselves. Shot for $1 million, it earned $18 million. Hollywood could not ignore him after that. By 1993, he had made over 20 films. He had a loyal audience and real money, but he did not yet have the thing that would turn him from a movie star into a permanent piece of American culture. The show CBS tried to erase. Walker, Texas Ranger premiered on CBS on April 21, 1993, and nearly died immediately. The original production company, Canon Television, went bankrupt during the first season. Only the pilot and 2 additional episodes had been completed before funding collapsed. The plug was moments from being pulled when CBS saw the premiere numbers, a 16.5 rating, a 27 share, meaning over a quarter of all televisions in use that Saturday night were tuned to a show about a karate-kicking Texas Ranger. CBS found new partners and saved it. What followed was 9 seasons, 203 episodes, and the first primetime drama in American television history filmed entirely in Texas. Chuck controlled creative direction through his company Top Kick Productions, insisted on moral storylines consistent with his Christian faith, employed his brother Aaron as co-producer, and sang the theme song himself. CBS credited the Norris brothers with 9 years of on-budget, on-time production. His deal included $375,000 per episode and 23% of all profits. Across 203 episodes, his acting fees alone approached $76 million. Syndication multiplied everything. USA Network paid $750,000 per episode in 1997. The show aired in over 100 countries. Court documents filed years later revealed total franchise revenue exceeding $692 million. That last number is where things turned dark. In 2018, Norris sued CBS and Sony, alleging they owed him over $30 million in unpaid profits. His legal team documented that CBS had structured its streaming and distribution deals to avoid triggering his participation clause and had not reported any streaming revenue to him since 2004. The case dragged through the courts for 5 years before being settled in July 2023 for an undisclosed amount. Whatever CBS paid to close that case is now part of the estate his family is inheriting. Chuck Norris built his brand on a very specific image: strong, faithful, family man, Christian, conservative. And for the most part, that image was genuine. But there was one thing buried inside it that he kept completely hidden for almost 30 years. The secret of Norris' life. In August 1962, while awaiting his Air Force discharge in Riverside, California, Chuck met a woman named Johanna at a bar. He did not tell her he was married. Their brief relationship produced a daughter named Dina, born in February 1963. Johanna discovered Chuck was married, raised Dina entirely alone, and married another man. When Dina was 16, her mother finally told her the truth, but gave her a specific instruction: do not make contact. He has a wife, he has children, do not interfere. For 26 years, Dina carried the name of a father she had never met and never contacted. Then Chuck and Diane's divorce became public in 1989. 2 years later, Dina wrote a letter. Chuck's account in his 2004 memoir, Against All Odds, describes walking into his living room and seeing her standing there. He wrote that in the instant he saw her, he knew without any test or documentation. I didn't need DNA or blood tests. He saw his own face looking back at him. They both wept immediately. The line he wrote next became one of the most quoted things he ever said outside of a film. There might be illegitimate parents in the world. I know, because I was one. But there are no illegitimate children. Dina was fully welcomed into the family. In 2015, Chuck posted a vacation photo from Kauai featuring Dina, her husband, and their 2 grandsons on the same island where he would later die. The photo was public and almost nobody noticed, because by then the myth had swallowed the man whole. He had 5 children in total. Mike became a Christian filmmaker. Eric became one of Hollywood's most respected stunt coordinators and won a NASCAR championship in 2002. The twins Dakota and Danny Lee, born in 2001, grew up on the Texas ranch. And Dina proved that the man behind the legend was more complicated and far more human than any film or meme ever allowed him to appear. The year he almost lost everything.